The trajectory of human history was irrevocably altered on the morning of September 12, 1683. Historically, the Grand Vizier Merzifonlu Kara Mustafa Pasha was criticized for tactical inertia. However, in this reality, his brilliance was undisputed. Anticipating the arrival of King John Sobieski's Polish relief army, the Vizier executed a maneuver of total engagement. Instead of leaving the Janissaries in the trenches to be trampled by the winged hussars, he withdrew his elite infantry, repositioning them behind a fortified line of field cannons and spiked barricades on the slopes of Kahlenberg. When the Polish heavy cavalry charged, they did not find a disorganized camp, but a wall of lead and fire. The hussars were decimated, Sobieski was captured. By nightfall, the gates of Vienna, the Golden Apple, were open to the Sublime Porte. The Fall of Vienna triggered the collapse of the Holy Roman Empire. Emperor Leopold I fled to Madrid, leaving Central Europe in a power vacuum that the Ottomans filled not with destruction, but with bureaucratic integration. Vienna was renamed Bech and established as the empire's Western scientific capital. The Sultan's approach to European knowledge was not one of admiration, but of ganimeti funun, the spoils of science. The Jesuit integration, rather than expelling the Sizvit, Jesuit scholars, the Grand Vizier placed them under state protection. Their expertise in mathematics, astronomy, and optics was declared a resource of the Caliphate. The vast libraries of the Habsburgs were digitized, in the 17th century sense, through mass manual copying and the newly imported printing presses of Ibrahim Mutafarrika, translating Latin and German technical manuals into Ottoman Turkish. To ensure the permanence of this technological leap, the Sheikh al-Islam issued the transformative decree of sacred utility. This fatwa dismantled the centuries-old resistance to infidel innovations by framing them as divine tools recovered from the enemy. To master the tools of the adversary is not an act of imitation, but the fulfillment of a divine mandate. The steam, the gear, and the star map are the lost properties of the believer, reclaimed for the glory of the state. This ideological shift turned the printing press from a threat to the scribe into a weapon of the Sultan, allowing for the rapid dissemination of ballistics, metallurgy, and naval architecture across the empire. The greatest internal challenge was the Janissary Corps. Traditionally prone to rebellion, they were pacified through a clever caste system overhaul. The Funun Harb, scientific war branch, an elite subcorps was created within the Janissaries. They were given the highest pay, the finest Viennese-engineered rifles, and exclusive access to Bech Academy training. Meritocratic ulufes, salaries. Pay was no longer static. A Janissary's salary became tied to their technical literacy. To earn more, a soldier had to master the use of the compass, the sextant, and the maintenance of the new heavy artillery. By 1720, the Janissaries had evolved from a disruptive political force into a technocratic military elite. They no longer sought to overthrow the Sultan. They sought to master the increasingly complex machinery of his global dominion. The true catalyst for the Ottoman Industrial Revolution was not mere imitation, but a brilliant synthesis of forgotten Eastern genius and captured Western pragmatism. In the early 1730s, scholars at the Bech Vienna Academy revisited the 1,551 manuscripts of the Ottoman polymath Taqi al-Din. Specifically, they analyzed his steam turbine design, originally used to rotate a roasting jack for meat, and realized it contained the fundamental principles of rotational kinetic energy. The European contribution. Simultaneously, the archives captured from the fallen Habsburg Empire revealed European designs for primitive hydraulic pumps used to drain water from mines. The Great Synthesis, under the direction of the Muhendishane-i Beri Hümayun, Ottoman engineers realized that the European pressure systems were the missing link to Taqi al-Din's rotational turbine. By 1745, they had integrated these concepts to create the first high-pressure steam engine, known as the Ateşçarkı, the fire wheel. The invention of the Ateşçarkı created an insatiable demand for energy, leading to a state-sponsored geological hunt. Following the 1705 Fatwa of Sacred Utility, which declared technical knowledge as divine tools recovered from the enemy, the search for fuel became a holy mission. Utilizing geological survey techniques translated from German manuals, an expedition of Funana Harb, scientific war, officers discovered massive coal seams in the Zonguldak Ereğli Basin in 1748, nearly a century earlier than in our timeline. The industrial axis, Zonguldak became the empire's lungs, fueling the massive steel mills and foundries of the Balkans. The Janissary Corps, once the empire's greatest internal threat, became the primary drivers of this industrialization. As part of the caste system overhaul, Janissaries were no longer just warriors. They were trained at the Bech Academy to operate and maintain the increasingly complex machinery of the Ateşçarkı. Salaries were tied to technical literacy, encouraging the Corps to master the ballistics, metallurgy, and steam pressures required for modern warfare. By 1760, the Ottoman military was the most technologically advanced force on Earth, operating steam-powered artillery platforms that rendered traditional European fortifications obsolete. As the Ottoman Empire industrialized, its political borders shifted from traditional conquest to bureaucratic integration. Following the collapse of the Holy Roman Empire, the Ottoman Sultan established the German Confederation. German principalities like Bavaria and Prussia became vassal states, providing technical talent in exchange for Ottoman protection. Without Habsburg support, the papacy entered a state of sacred protection under the Sultan. Rome remained the center of Catholicism, but functioned as a strategic vassal under Ottoman naval oversight. With vessels independent of wind, the empire seized Gibraltar to control the gateway to the Atlantic. With Ruzgar, wind no longer a limiting factor, the Ottoman Navy underwent a total transformation. The first steam-powered frigates, the Buharlı-Hümayun, were launched in the 1770s. These vessels, independent of weather conditions, secured the Mediterranean as an Ottoman lake. By 1780, the Imperial Navy pushed beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Using Taqi al-Din's refined optics for navigation, Ottoman steam galleons began establishing protection islets along the coasts of West Africa and South America. The path to the Ottoman Empire's galactic dominance was now wide open,